Welcome to the February 2025 Coffee with Kehoe. I'm here today with my distinguished co-host, Amy Pearson. Amy, you want to introduce yourself? Although you need no introduction.
I know.
After the last episode, when I've got a bunch of feedback, like it's a good thing you added Amy because you were losing a lot of audience. So thank you.
It was a lot of fun. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for raising
again.
the level of Coffee with Kehoe.
I enjoy these podcasts.
Yeah.
Always exciting to learn what we're going to talk about and share what we know. And just for those that don't know me, I am Amy Pearson, and I'm the Chief of Staff to the State CIO here at WaTech.
And co-host of Coffee with Kehoe. That's right.
Proudly.
Yes. So I do have my Nasio coffee cup again.
I brought my tab.
A tab, yeah. And we have some copper tone here because it does get a little warm in the set. And there's a lot of sun outside our window here in the state of Washington. So, we might have to use a little of that. But the topic today is modernization, which was not in the top 10 of Nasio, but we thought it should be. They had legacy modernization, some of those old school things, but they did issue a supplement strategy around modernization. So we may have influenced that a little bit. I don't know.
All right.
So that's our topic today. But it's hard to have modernization discussion when you got a tab and a peachy.
And a peachy, I know.
How is that related?
Talking old school.
Related to what's the modernization of the peachy and tab? I mean,
Power BI.
Oh, okay.
And tab is just tab. There's no substitute for it.
Yeah. Sometimes, it's like a mainframe. Just keeps moving along, right? Cool. All right, so let's start with what's the difference between modernization and legacy modernization? They both have the word modernization, but how do you define modernization?
Well, we talked about this last time, a last podcast about legacy modernization and that being somewhat of an oxymoron, in that you're stabilizing and making old legacy mainframes stable while you're building out and transforming new modern ways of doing business, conducting business for the state, and interacting with clients, customers, residents. So modernization to me is the updating or transformation of both the business, so the processes that staff use to serve residents, as well as the technology to support those new ways of doing business.
So where does the legacy modernization come into that?
Well, you can't just automatically, when you decide to modernize, to turn off the old legacy systems. Typically, these have 20 to 40 years of data and information and program rules. And so you have to keep those mainframes healthy and stable while you mine them for the data or the rules or extract the information that you need while you build out in a new modern cloud platform typically, and then integrate on the back end for as long as you need to with those old legacy systems until you can actually decommission and transition to that new modern way of doing business.
So modernization really encompasses like everything in the top 10. And if you look at the digital experience, it covers that. And the cybersecurity piece,
AI.
Data, AI, legacy modernization, the workforce piece as well, accessibility. Because how we define it and a lot of the projects that we work on, there's several aspects to modernization. Not just trying to replace this old system, whether it be a mainframe or not. It's more than that. It's like you're modernizing the user experience, you're modernizing your business processes, you're modernizing your data.
Mm-hmm. It's really an opportunity to leverage the new technology, AI, data platforms, and new ways of mining data that we have to really inform decisions. And
yeah, so it's a thing, and it is how we're approaching a lot of our large projects in the state of Washington. So let's break that down a little bit, and let's talk about one of the components that's really front and center for us, which is the user experience, the user interface, the user-centered design. And the fact that a lot of our customers, when they go into the state and they want to get the services, they have to go to multiple places to get those services and enter their data multiple times. And there's an effort, whether it's within our integrated eligibility, our resident portal, there's a real effort to present one or two or three front doors for our residents so they can come in, navigate, enter their data, get their services they want, and not have to go and get frustrated multiple times or not get the service at all. So what are some things we're doing in the state of Washington around that customer experience? How do we know what our customers want? How are we going about that? And what are some of the projects that we're pursuing that are going to really enhance the customer experience?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think, just to back up just a little, I think historically much of the focus over the last couple of decades has been very much on what the workers' experience is and how they're able to serve clients or customers, but it hasn't always included, like you just described, what is the user's experience in interacting with government. And I think there's a real transition happening that the focus is on the customer and how they experience, how they interact with government, and how then do you update the business processes so that staff can support the client experience so it works better for everybody. I think in terms of what are some of the ways that we are incorporating the user experience or the customer focus in what we do, I think one of them we've talked about in the past is journey mapping at the start of projects, really exploring what the client or customer's experience is with the process and what are the pain points associated with that experience. It's much more of an empathy map and reveals both the client and staff's pain points as opposed to just a business process flow. And I think that's been very useful in discovering the customer experience and ways to change what we do.
That's a lot different than what we used to do, which is like take a old system and say, we're just going to upgrade it, right? And ignore maybe even going out to the customers to ask them, what do you need? Where are your pain points? And what kind of accessibility issues are you having, et cetera? And maybe not even looking at business processes and just focusing on the technology and the system and replacing that. And that's not what we're doing today.
Right. I think we're also leveraging vendor partners that are very skilled in that space of cultivating relationships with residents. For the resident portal work, we did a statewide survey that went out to thousands, I don't know how many hundreds of responses.
We had focus groups too. We actually talked. Imagine that, talking to our customers about what they want.
Yep.
And what did they say?
Yep. They want one front door to state government. Mm-hmm. They don't want to have to guess what agency, what acronym, what form. They want
the org structure.
One place.
Yeah.
One place.
Imagine that.
To connect with their government.
When we go to Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah.
And do you have to go to, I want shoes, so I'm going to go to this version of Amazon Prime. And and then I want clothes, so I go over here, and I want food, so I go over here. It's all in one.
Right. And it's
You can
personalized. You enter your data once.
And they remember it too. It's like, that's, I don't know if I like that aspect. I suppose it's okay. But they actually show you, this is what you ordered last year. Okay, thank you so much. But
And this is what you might like because of
we're out of, they don't have any more Tab, by the way, on Amazon
They
Prime.
do not.
Yeah.
No, I bought them out.
There are all kinds of copper tone available. So check that out. But what Amazon Prime or some of these other apps do that we use all the time is they take all the friction that occurs on the back end,
make it invisible,
and then make it invisible to the customer. And that's what we want to do in government.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be the Amazon Prime of state government. And we want to take all that friction that our residents experience today out of the equation.
Right.
We can do it.
We can do it.
We can do it.
We can do it. We can do it.
Yes.
I think the other piece that I'm proud of with the integrated eligibility and enrollment program through the coalition is there is a concerted effort to really reach out to the clients that are currently enrolled in the myriad of programs that are available. And there are focus groups. There's opportunity to pay some of the folks that participate in surveys, or it's really trying to get at what our residents really want from their government. Mm-hmm. It's a serious endeavor to do that, and then bring that back and build that into all aspects of a project, from design to the user interface through a portal. All of that incorporates their feedback.
So that's so important in this journey of modernization, is getting direct feedback from your customers. Mm-hmm. So let's talk to the architecture, because you mentioned we're not getting rid of necessarily our legacy systems in this modernization approach right away, mm-hmm. but we're developing a target architecture. Mm-hmm. We're integrating with our back-end services. Mm-hmm. But we're also coming up with a decommissioning plan mm-hmm. over time. So as we implement, whether it's the new user experience or the new business processes or converting data, we're doing that incrementally via capabilities. And then over time, when those capabilities are implemented, each of those capabilities have a decommissioning component.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that working? I mean, is that so new to the state that this is a hard thing for our agencies and our state to get their arms around? Because usually it was, hey, let's write a RFP to get rid of a system mm-hmm. and go to a new system. And now we have the cloud. Now we have integrations that can occur. We have an integration architecture that we can deploy, APIs where we can talk from system to system and transfer data. But all of that requires a new mindset and a new skill set. So how do we get our agencies and our culture in the state or any government to get that mindset change? What are some things that we could do?
I think that it's very difficult. I mean, I think our experience in helping to support many of the large projects in the state, the decommissioning aspect of these modernization projects has been lacking. I think there's just been a general thought that you could build out your new system and then eventually just turn the switch and everything would be fine. And it's not an apples to apples or one-to-one way to build functionality in a new modern system and then be able to find it and turn it off in a legacy system. And I think decommissioning strategies need to go hand in hand. That is part of the full picture of modernization.
In some cases, on some of our projects, the modernization projects, there's 10, 20, 30 systems they're going to be decommissioned because over time they built these kind of satellite systems around a mainframe or a large system.
Right. Well, and a lot of initial project work needs to be in the discovery of what is in your legacy system what data, what rules, what documentation do you have? Because again, many of these legacy systems are 20, 40 years old. How well have things been documented over the decades? So first understanding what's in your legacy system so that you can then understand or pull apart the capabilities, the rules to figure out how you're going to build and leverage that information in the future.
You got to have a foundation. I know one of the projects, the integrated eligibility, they built a foundation on a cloud foundation, a cloud platform. Now, and then as part of our target architecture, as we build the front end and the different components, we're building on that platform. So that was important. And then we have an integration architecture. We have a data strategy. So we're incorporating data analytics, but the data piece is huge. Not only do you have all this data on these old systems that you really need to understand, but then you have to understand what's that data going to look like in the new cloud model, and then how are you going to incrementally move that data across? The data piece is huge
and complicated.
Yes,
I think decommissioning also is a prime example of where organizational change management needs to occur.
Yeah, so let's talk more about that, because we have a lot of that going on. But how does organizational change management help with that mindset change and that culture change so that we can implement these projects and without the big bang, but in a phased approach, capabilities approach?
I think it needs to look a little different than we have typically done, OCM or organizational change management. I mean, I joke around, but I think every major project should have a therapist on staff, because it's almost like grief counseling. When folks have, their job for the last 30 years has been maintaining and supporting this mainframe and proud of the work they do, but in the next 5 years, the roadmap shows that it goes away. That's a very fearful position to be in. And I think change management is pivotal in helping people understand what that transition looks like. What are the options? What's the training that's necessary?
They have to go from where they are today to what they're going to support in the future, but that has to be laid out for them as well.
Exactly.
Communicate.
And it doesn't necessarily mean the end of a job. It means the transition or the modernization of the workforce or the job that you are currently doing. And I think we have a lot of room to do a better job of helping folks understand their new role in a new modern way of doing the work.
All right. Well, that's modernization phase 1. We didn't have to use any of our props here today, so that was good. And more to come. But modernization is a big component of what we're doing in the state of Washington and how we're approaching projects, focusing on the customer first, focusing on the business processes, the data, and decommissioning over time our legacy systems. So it's a new way of approaching projects, and it's capability based, it's phased. And I think there's a lot of lessons learned we can share with others over time. So reach out to us if you want to learn about modernization, how we're approaching it in the state of Washington.
This is the fun stuff. Get to get creative with how we do it.
Yes. So thank you.
Thank you.
See you in March.